this will be the very first topic that we're going to work in. And I'm going to do those 5 lines over again on a piece of tracing paper so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the basic lines were the straight line. Now a straight line could go this way, or a straight line could go this way. The next lines would be the same. These lines would be rooftop to the right, rooftop to the left, and then rooftop top to bottom, bottom to top. And then you would have the curved line left, the curved line right, the curved line top, the curved line bottom. And then the last would be the S line. The S line and the S line. Whoa, what did I do? I messed up. Okay, S line. Then it would be the S line and the S line, like this. So now we have all of these shapes that we can work with. And what can we do with them? Now this is what I'm going to do in its basic form. In the basic form, we take each one, and I'm going to show you simply by using tracing paper how these can change. So we're going to take the first two. No, we take the first one. The first line was a straight line, which was this way. And the other line was this way. So when we use 2-point perspective or 1-point perspective, we can take this and draw lines going like this and like this coming in. If I draw a second one to here, and I draw the second one from here to here, then I vertically draw these lines, I create the famous box that you can actually see. I could have done better than that because I'm doing it quick. But I think you can actually visualize the box. Then if you visualize the box from 2 points of view, you can view one as though the box were, let me try and draw it for you. This, 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 and this. That's one view. That's from this view. Now if I do it from the other view would be this. This, 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 this. Now that's looking from the top. So this is bottom view, and this is top view. I think that's pretty clear to understand that. That all comes from just these 2 lines. So these lines have been done as a straight line coming down. Now this one here, I've done one of them, this first one. Now the second one I'm going to do is going to be where you have, again, we're going to move the perspective lines to a different point, from here to here. Before they were from here to here. Now we're going to go from here. So we go this way, like this, and then we're going to go from here to here. Now we're going to go make another line here. And what is going to happen to this? This is coming out very strange, isn't it? And we're going to go to here. So then you've got to get this, this, this. Oh, look what happened. But what it's going to do is stimulate your imagination by doing that. So now what we have is basically, we have this, 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 and it's tapered, if you notice, inside here. Then this goes here, this comes down like this comes here, and it's a rather unusual shape. It's not a true square. It's kind of chisel shape, but in a blunt way. But I think that what it shows is something a little bit different than you would normally see. And it's another point of view using that straight line. So these lines could be done many, many times, and out of it, many designs will come out of it. So as you see the whole picture, you can see the different shapes that came from that simple line. Now let's go to a different line and try to see what we can do with this next line. This is that rooftop effect that we were talking about. And if I were to just simply take this shape to start, and we're going to put the one below it here, this. Now, these two, doing again a perspective view, we'll do the 2-point perspective this way, this way, this way. Turn it a little bit, make it convenient for my hand. Here, here, and here. Now, if I take this and make this come this way and this come this way, and I make this go this way and this go this way, then I reconnect this line to here, and I bring this line over to here. Now you look what happened to a simple line. It became a very unusual shape in that it is made with a taper to it, like this. It has a wedge shape going like this, coming down, going here, 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 and here. Now that's totally different in shape than this. And that's how design forms, by all these different shapes that you see. And many times when you're drawing it as a designer or as an artist, you don't even see them when they're happening. They happen before your very eyes. And that's what stimulates your imagination to make you want to do more and to try to discover other things. Now, if I take this other one, and I'm going to draw this one radically. I just put 2 dots anywhere. Put this here, have this come here, this go here, and this go here. Now, what have I got here? I've got a very unusual shape, and I'm going to take this and bring this line over here, bring this over here. Take this here, because all these lines are parallel to each other, like that. Now what you have is a totally different shape again. This one is going to be in this form. I don't know what you'd call this shape, but it all forms into a box effect, with this one having a very, very unusual shape to it. Now, any of these shapes can be made into jewelry designs. Anything here can be made into a jewelry design. If I made a more complex design using the same element, I can then take other objects. If I were to take, for instance, an object I have here, which is a very, very helpful little device, which breaks things down into all different components, different parts, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to pick, say, number 8. And let's go with number 8. And I'm going to take these designs that I had before, and I'm going to try to fit this into a section of 8, for instance. It's an experiment. Will it work or won't it work? Let's see what happens. If I take this and I bring this and redraw the lines on another piece of tracing paper, find my center right here, and rotate this to the next position here. I forgot a line here. Okay, this goes like this, here, center, rotate to the next spot. I'm a little off a little bit here, but you'll get the effect of seeing what happens when you do this. Okay. Then this goes here. And we complete the cycle of 8. See, each one lines up with the next ray that comes out. That way you keep them equal going around. I'm doing it very fast, but if you take your time and you do it slowly, you can really get a very interesting effect out of all of this. Number 7. And number 8. Now, what do you have here? It's almost like a flower, but yet it's like a gear. But it does have potential to have some quality for jewelry design. It could be a pendant. Someone might go for something like this. If I were to take this surface, for instance, and let me remove this pattern off, and bring this here, and these were cut stones. These were faceted stones inserted in each section, cut custom for this particular piece. I'm sure that someone will come along and say, geez, I like that. That's a very interesting shape for a piece of jewelry. There's always someone that will find something interesting. When you do machining and finishing on something like this, it could be a very modern type of design in a pendant form, and by doing this you get the feeling of other potentials that could be done with the same thing. It doesn't only lead to one design, it leads to many designs. And this at least gives you some kind of an idea of how a simple line becomes a lot more complicated and can become more interesting. It has a very interesting effect when you look at it like this. Now, if I wanted to take something and add something to this, I could always build, if I fold the paper over just to discover what might be hidden away in here, I could always draw things that would go from the center and have an effect like this. If I were to make these polished panels coming up from the center, maybe radiating from a stone or something, but this in itself would give a filler to the center piece that could be fairly interesting, like this. It doesn't take long to stimulate your imagination. Now, because this has almost a V kind of a shape, you can do the same thing with these. You can make these have a center line in them, so that this is all done with a V shape. So all of these would have a V shape, like this. All of these would have a V shape with them. The only thing is they would be angled outward, so you would be seeing that V would have a base underneath it like this, maybe a polished wall on the side going down, and the stone is inside of this, but it's tilted this way. So these are tilted downward. These are going this way. This one is going from this is going up and then down. That's right. This is going up and then down inside. So I think that when you work with something like this, it could turn into something quite interesting. And if you add the chain going through it on the piece, it becomes a very interesting kind of pendant. Probably the chain would be more over here on this side. But what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to refine this. Refine this design to finish rendering. Okay, we're going to refine this to a finished rendering, and that will be the step of the very first lines that we did. I will demonstrate each line and all the things that can be done, and there may be something added, because as you know, we had these other shapes that were also involved here, the simple box shapes, and these unusual freeform shapes, and this one of the freeform shapes became this particular pendant. So it might be interesting when it's done.